Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. Today we have a full slate of topics as usual. A lot of sports today, mixed in with just a little bit of hip hop. I'll do some more recording this weekend and do more hip hop topics. Kind of short this week on hip hop topics. There's a lot of sports news that's been going on that I want to discuss and break down, bring some in depth analysis to. So I'll first start off with the hip hop news. Big hip hop news. Well, it's not big hip hop news, but some controversial news or new points of contention to talk about or new things to discover or to elaborate further on to. So, in reference to Outkast, one of the group members, Big Boy, was asked on Sean White's Complex Goat Talk. He picked Spotty Oddie Dopalicious as off the Equimini album as his favorite Outkast song of all time. Now, as a group member of Outkast, he knows more than anybody, other than Andre 3000, of course, about the songs they made and the meaning behind those and the behind the scenes things that they had to go through to get the songs cleared, to get these songs made, the politics of it all. So he knows more than anybody. So who am I to question his choice of songs? But when I thought about this topic, I thought about how much or how many songs that Outkast had that could be a favorite. And there's so many hits that they put out and so many B-sides that they had that were so successful and cult classics that it's difficult to pick one. And I'm pretty sure in the moment he was put on the spot, so he just thought about the song he probably listened to the most or the song he resonated most with. So when I thought about Outkast songs, I had to go all the way back to the 90s, probably the early 90s, all the way to the mid 2000s, probably 08, 09, somewhere around there, to the songs that they put out and the songs that resonated most with me. Because, like I said, when you're picking the best song, it's not anything definitive, it's all subjective. So it's based all on your preference. And for my preference and style and things I look for musical is a lot different than what other people look for. So I usually look for lyrics. Production is a huge part of that as well, because production kind of exacerbate the lyrics. So from an Outkast perspective, I think of the most lyrical songs that they've had, which pretty much all their songs are lyrical. They did make some commercial hits like Hey Ya, which is mostly Andre 3K's song, and they made things like So Fresh and So Clean, I Like the Way You Move. Those hits there are more commercially hit, but they still were lyrical, but the production kind of outdrowned the lyricism for radio hits, which radio hits now are not really a thing anymore. Mostly people put out music without even dropping or promoting a single, really. So it's a lot different now than it was back in the 90s and early 2000s, even mid 2000s. So, like I said, they have a very extensive and efficient and very fulfilling catalog. So it's very difficult to pick one. But I did pick a list of songs that resonated the most with me lyrically and from a meaning standpoint and just historical historical relevance to them. So and these songs, so like AT which he referenced in his interview as being one of his favorite songs. Like I said, the production on it was top notch, the rapping, the flow, and a little background on Outkast. They used to jog while reciting their lyrics so they can have the stamina to perform those songs, because they did have some high energy songs, and their managers and stuff wanted them to have the energy and the stamina to perform these songs and not be out of breath as they do them. So that's the unique thing about Outkast that most people don't realize. I think I watched back in the day, it was the MTV, The Diary of Outkast, and they kind of talked about this behind the scenes, I believe. I know it was VH1. I want to say it was, but a unique fact about them. So AT Aliens was a good one. The Art of Storytelling 4 is very underrated for me because it was on a DJ Drama album, and Andre 3000 just he put him in a different realm for me. Just his metaphors and the way he talked about things, and he he was talking backpack, but it resonated so much with anybody because he just the relevance he had to today's society to oh damn slipping up to today's society and just relevance growing up in the inner city. He has so many different references to it, like the Brett Favre references when he said, "Now I'm out here starving, trying to now I'm out here now they got me out here starving. Now I'm out here Brett Favre and trying to see if I still got it." Making a reference to Brett Favre, who used to retire all the time, just to and then he would come back to see if he still had the skills, which is kind of unique for, like I said, an artist of his caliber. Rosa Parks, a song that I believe they did face some legal scrutiny from Rosa Parks herself about making that song. Like I said, that song still is a slap today. So I like that song as well. The Way You Move, like I said, that was a commercial hit. Elevators, Me and You, you, your mama, and your cousin too. That song was, like I said, we didn't even know the name of that song. We used just to sing it all the time, and it was just so catchy. And like I said, they can write the best hooks out of all the groups. And then I Can't Wait, which was from a barbershop soundtrack, which Andre 3000 made reference to Rosa Parks suing them and things like that. So out of all of those songs that I've named and all the songs that Outkast has, Elevators, Me and You is probably my favorite song. Just the flow, and then like you can lay back in the car to it, you can lay in the house with it, you can be at a club with it, you can be at home, you can be with friends, you could be wherever. Like that song, you don't need a certain place to be. Like a lot of songs you have to be in a car for, or if you have to be in a sad mood. That song you can be in a sad or you can be in a happy mood, and it's gonna still resonate the same for me. So that's why Elevators, Me and You is my favorite song. Like I said, they made Outkast made timeless music, legendary music. They were able to um, make music that you can still listen to 20 years later, and you can listen to no matter what the race of people. It won't be seen as obnoxious as some songs are, because like I said, their production is very mellow, it's very soulful. Like I said, you can play this music anywhere, but for the most part, when I thought about rap groups, I thought about Outkast, but only group I can see competing with them is maybe, just maybe, 3 6 Mafia, and it's not just because of my Memphis bias, just because, well, I'll throw NWA in there as well. So when you think about groups, I mean not Outkast, but 3 6 Mafia and NWA had several members. They had more than 4 members, especially 3 6 Mafia. They had probably 10 members or so throughout the group's history. But most of these groups I can't compare because they had in-house producers. They had members in the group who rapped and also produced. NWA had Dr. Dre. He was not only just a producer and a very great one, but he also rapped as well. Same thing with 3 6 Mafia. They had DJ Paul and Juicy J, who were rappers, but they were producers as well. And to have 2 producers, in-house producers in one group is kind of unheard of. There's not much precedent on that. I'm not sure if anyone else rap wise had that. So to have 2 producers in your group and have all these good rappers behind it, Project Pat, like I said, I'll put him up there with most rappers ever. Like, he's not probably the most lyrical, but just his content and the way he made things make sense that can be so complex. I'll put him up there with, he's probably in my top 20, 30 of all time. But that might be my Memphis bias talking, but at the same time, it is what it is. So, so like I said, Outkast is up there, and I'll put NWA and 3 6 Mafia up there with them as well. I will be probably sometime next week. I'll be discussing my top rap groups of all time, which I'll probably do a top 5, top 10. It'd be kind of a stretch to do. Like I said, there's a lot of good groups out there, but groups that I actually listen to is probably not that many as far as rap groups is concerned. I'm usually listening to individual groups, so individual artists. So, but yeah, thinking about Outkast, it was kind of sad though, because the way the group broke up, and like they talked about how they grew apart, and it just became very awkward at the end for them to work together. I remember the Idlewild movie that they came out with, which had an amazing soundtrack, by the way, that the group put together. But if you notice in the Idlewild movie, they only had maybe a handful of scenes together where they was actually in the same room. I know at the end of the movie they kind of talked, and when Andre 3000 was going through what he was going through, and then Big Boy kind of came in and stopped him or saved him. Um, they didn't have that many parts in the movie together, but they had business together and they had a job to do, so they got together and did it. But it's a shame that they never, got past that point. But like I said, groups always seem to fall apart, whether it be money stuff or just growing apart musically. Like I said, Andre wanted to go a whole another route, and he did. Like he put out the Flute album recently, which I talk about a lot. But he just didn't have the stomach or the heart for hip hop anymore. He wanted to do other things like artistically. So, and Big Boy still wanted to, stay true to to his craft. And like I said, Big Boy is very underrated as far as raps goes because Andre 3000 was just out of this world and he was so great at what he did. So Big Boy is very underrated in that aspect. But um, I was happy to see Big Boy talk about that and being able to um, relish in the moment of what they accomplished and the songs that they put out and the history that they had together. So in other news and sports, unfortunately, I have to talk about Aaron Rodgers again. He made comments recently about the media pundits that criticize him in the media. So he was on Pat McAfee's show and he talked about he was sick and tired of some of the biggest networks platforming the opinions of washed up athletes who haven't been relevant in years. Which the irony of that is the show that he was on is Pat McAfee's, which is his friend who used to be a punter in the league, who hasn't played in years. So you kind of contradicted yourself, or he contradicted himself in making that statement. And even when he made that statement, Pat McAfee kind of like clenched up and was like, "Oh, I didn't know he was going to say that." Like it was something unexpected that they didn't talk about. And when he thought about it, I bet he thought like, "Man, he's kind of talking about me." But like I said, they pay Aaron Rodgers to be on the show. He gives out these compliments. I mean, these weird takes, and it kind of gives the show's ratings. So he's doing his job from that standpoint. But a lot of people say that what he did was hypocrisy. But from my standpoint, I see it differently. I just think it's privilege and entitlement that Aaron Rodgers has. He has been great for so long, and over the last 3 years, you've seen chinks in the armor. You've seen slippage. You've seen deterioration. You've seen decline, which he's been praised for so many years. Other than like Skip Bayless, he's been praised for like having the best arm talent. He's been praised for being the most efficient quarterback when it comes to interception touchdown ratio. He's been praised for the yardage he can put up and the throws he can make that nobody else can make. But over the last 4 or 5 years or so, he's had this slippage, and people have been praising the Josh Allens. They've been praising the Pat Mahomes. They've been praising the Lamar Jacksons. And when they talk about Aaron Rodgers now, it's all negative. And he's not handling that well because he's so used to being put up on this pedestal, being this 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP. And now he's seen it in a different light. He's pouting about it and showing that entitlement or that privilege that he's been that's been bestowed upon him for so many years. Since 2011, everybody's been saying from 2011 all the way to probably 2021, people have been saying he's the best quarterback in the league, hands down. Nobody can make passes like he makes. But until recently, it's been a different story. He's not been making the playoffs. His team's been bad. He's not going to more than likely make the playoffs this year. He's not mathematically eliminated, but he would probably have to win out and hope other teams lose. So he's being very pouty and being very hypocritical in his assessment of his criticism. And it seems to be a Packers quarterback curse of being toxic and being entitled. When you think about Brett Favre retiring many times and coming back, him going to different teams and doing all this. I'm not going to mini camps and I'm not doing this. And then Aaron Rodgers comes behind and does the same thing. So Packers need to beware of Jordan Love not bending over too far, pause for him as well. Because like I said, Jordan Love had one season where he was doing pretty good, and they gave him a $50 million a year contract. So sometimes you got you can't create a problem with your you kind of try to create too many problems with your solution, which I'll talk about in my Ozark analysis when I do that coming up here in a couple of days. Creating, when you're trying to fix a problem, you can't make your solution the problem as well. And that's what the Packers have done for so many decades with their quarterbacks. Nobody else is afforded that privilege. Anybody else would be cut or traded. So it's just something to watch out for. But like Aaron Rodgers, something else I noticed that he said was washed up athletes that haven't been relevant in years. You can't play forever. So, uh, and you won't have the talent forever. So eventually he will become washed up and won't be relevant. Do you think Pat McAfee would be relevant if he didn't have the podcast and wasn't on the ESPN platform? He was a punter. Punters don't get that much praise. He's probably the most famous punter ever. We don't know too many punters. He's the only punter I can think of that actually has a platform or actually has been ever put in that light. So, it's very ironic that he would make these statements on the punter's platform, and it's kind of, throwing him under the bus, Pat McAfee under the bus as well. So, just very interesting and very unique, but not surprising coming from Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, over the last couple of years, he's exhibited these kind of behaviors, and it's showing his rearing his ugly head now because, like I said, he's on the downside of his career, and we can definitely see the slippage and the deterioration of his skills, especially after the Achilles injury, and he's not as athletic as he once was. So switching to someone who isn't slipping or someone who isn't deteriorating in their skills, they're reaching their peak right now. Pause. Travis Hunter. So recently, Travis Hunter was nominated for 7 awards, and so far he's won the AP College Player of the Year, the Walter Camp Award, the Chuck Badnarek, the Blitnikoff, the Lott Trophy, and the Paul Hornung. And tomorrow night, Saturday night, he's up for the Heisman Trophy along with Ashton Genty, Dylan Gabriel. I think that's it. Yeah, if I can recall, that's it. Yeah, so that's the other 3. So we'll see if he can make a clean sweep tomorrow and win that Heisman. But what he's doing right now is just immaculate. It's exceptional. It's never been seen before in my lifetime, at least. And it's rare to want to watch a football game for a defensive side. So it's only been one other player in my lifetime that I wanted to see from a defensive perspective, and I just watched the game mostly for their defense, and that's Aaron Donald. From the cornerback position, Travis Hunter fits that same kind of mold because he's always going to do some exciting. Like I say, he plays corner, so they don't throw a lot his way, but when they do, they pay in some kind of way, whether it be a pass breakup, interception, or a turnover somehow. And he has that mold to be the next great defensive player, especially from the cornerback position, but just to affect the game overall, because he's just not a cornerback, he's an athlete. He can play receiver, he can probably do punts and kicks as well. But in the NFL, they'll probably want him to narrow down to one position, and I'll tell you why. For his benefit, I think he would want to narrow down to one, because if he's playing cornerback and receiver, they're going to try to throw cornerback money at him. Receiver money is way more than the receiver money. So if he comes out as a receiver, he'll make more money. But if he plays corner, they'll try to lowball him. And then sometimes when you play 2 positions, they try to lowball you anyway. Like the running backs who line up in the receiver spot, they try to lowball them as well, like a Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley and people like that. They try to lowball you when you do multiple things. But if you just narrow it down to receiver, they have to pay you receiver money. But they'll try to figure out probably some way to pay him cornerback money. So, but like I said, what he's doing is rare right now. From a college viewpoint, there's only, I want to say, 2 other players that I watch with amazement, that I watch Travis Hunter with in that same light. And it has to be Reggie Bush and Zion Williamson. Zion, I would run to all of his games because he's going to do some dunk. He's going to get a fast break dunk. He's going to try to dunk over some guy that's 7 foot. He's going to do crazy things for his size and speed. being 6'6", I think he was around 250 at the time, 260, being that heavy and being able to jump like that. We haven't seen that since Charles Barkley. So Zion was able to captivate the minds and to the imagination that we didn't ever think of. We wouldn't even create that guy on a video game. And then Reggie Bush, I don't need to say much about him, just his elusiveness and being able to create plays out of nothing was like we had never seen before. And I'm glad he got his Heisman back, because with the NIL deals now, they saw that coming from a mile away. Him getting money didn't increase his performance. I can make the argument getting more money can decrease your performance. But so for him to get any kind of money and still play better, he should have got another Heisman for that, in my opinion. So, but a couple of questions about Travis Hunter, just to stay on topic here. He will go down as one of the best college football players of all time. Like I said, he did more than just play one position. He played two, and he affected the game on both sides of the football. So that impact is unmatched, and I'm not sure we'll see that for, if ever, at least during my lifetime. But I'm excited to see, or really interested to see, how he'll do in his pro day and then at the combine, what time he will run speed wise, what how he would do in performance wise, just like on the weightlifting and things like that. But like I said, the film never lies. So even if he runs a 4.5, 4.6, it doesn't matter, because he has what they call football speed. When you know what the offense or the defense are trying to do to you, you can beat everybody to the spot, and you don't really need that speed necessarily that other people might need to overcompensate for lack of skills or a lack of knowledge of offense and defense. So I don't think the pro day or the combine really would matter. But like I said, the stats, it's just nice to see those stats, just to see what he'll run and just to see what he'll do in a short shuttle and the weightlifting and stuff like that. I don't really care about the IQ test. Like, I don't think anybody really cares. I don't know why they still have it. But they have him projected to go to the Patriots. And that's from Phil Yates's ESPN projection. Going to the Patriots, I think, I'm not sure if that'll be a detriment to his career or a testament to his career, because if he can do good in New England without a Bill Belichick or a Tom Brady, that would probably enhance his career. But if he doesn't succeed, then he'll say, well, he went to the Patriots, so he would have an excuse. But that's just projections. It'd be interesting to see where he goes to in the draft and where he would be slated, because like right now it's kind of difficult to see. It's too early to tell. After these college playoffs, we'll have a better assessment or a better knowledge of what team or where he would be better slated to go to. Because like I said, the NFL season is still going on, so we don't know who definitively has the first pick yet. And it'll all be based on need. But if I was any NFL team, I don't care about need. I would get Travis Hunter, because you can place him anywhere. You're going to need a receiver or a cornerback either way. So, and then I posted a survey of projections for his career. So do you think he'll be a perennial Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer, a bust, or just another guy? So make sure you check out that survey and put your opinions out on that. And then lastly, Bill Belichick, to kind of switch gears to talk about New England former players and coaches. Bill Belichick, he didn't get a job this year in the NFL, but he has accepted the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill's job next year for the next upcoming college football season. At the age of 72, he signed a 5-year deal worth $50 million, so about $10 million a year. And he'll be around 77 years old at the end of that deal. So it had me to thinking, is this his last stop? Is his last chance to kind of cement his legacy or add to his legacy? I don't want to say cement. His legacy is already cemented, in my opinion. But it's a lot to unpack with this move that Bill Belichick made. So if you follow Bill Belichick's career at all, you know he's pretty strategic, and he's a scoundrel, and he's kind of all of these things, right? So he has every move is a calculated step for him. Every move that he makes is with thought and with careful planning, because his dad was a military man, and he had this upbringing of being strategic and being methodical. So I thought about some couple things when it came to this move. Like, what does this move really mean, and why did he make this move? I don't think he made this move simply because he didn't get an NFL job. I think he made this move out of just adding to another variable to his legacy. Because when you think about this move, he's playing with house money, in my opinion. Because if he doesn't succeed at this move, then he'll have an excuse. North Carolina is University of North Carolina is a basketball school. I don't think they ever won a national championship, and they had LT and Julius Peppers and all these different people. I don't think they ever won a national championship in football. Basketball they have, of course, because they had Michael Jordan and Vince Carter and all these different great players. But for him to take that job, that's kind of a trend-setting move, similar to what Deion Sanders did in a way. You took a chance on a job that was kind of seen as like a dead end, and you had this great aura around you. So for you to take this job, you're able to, people look at it as like, man, it's maybe a career suicide. But at the same time, if he makes this job successful, he looks like a genius. So I say he's playing with house money because if he fails, then it's just like, oh, okay, well, nobody would succeed at that job. If he succeeds, then it's like, wow, he got 6 rings with Tom Brady, and he brought a national championship to North Carolina and made them relevant. So either way he wins. If he wins, it adds, but if he loses, he has an excuse from the media and from others of why he didn't make it. So a couple questions I had was him taking his job, because it's way different now than it's way different in NFL, and it's way different in college has ever been. So how would he adjust to the new generation of players? Players now are seen as lazy. They're seen more lazy now, and they're seen as more entitled and more privileged. Belichick doesn't play those games, especially when it came to NFL, and his players were making millions of dollars, and he still set ground rules, and he was no holds barred. He cut a player on the night before the Super Bowl. So how will he adjust to these players? Because now it's more player friendly in college football. So will he make those adjustments and be able to sustain the way he's been, or will he have to change his coaching style? How will he spend NIL money? Because we know he's been very frugal or very conservative when it came to spending in the NFL. Tom Brady never made big time money. I think he never made more than $20 million a year, which most people think is a lot of money. But when it comes to quarterback money, players were making double that. He took pay cuts to stay in New England because, Bill Belichick was not only the coach, he was the GM in New England. So they were able to, he was able to control the cap that way. And it's just be interesting to see how he'll pay these players, because players are more entitled now and they're going to want their money. And for him to get top recruits, he won't be able to get it off his name alone. It's going to be, how much can you pay these players? How much can you promise them? How much can you promise them on playing time? And when it comes to playing time, we know he'll switch anybody out for the game plan. So you might be the top leading running back, but he might say, well, we don't really need a running game this game. We'll put in a fullback at running back. He'll do weird things like that. So will he lose a lot of players from his lack of commitment to these players that they were supposedly promised when they were recruited? So that's going to be very interesting to see as well. And we know that Robert Kraft kind of grew tired of Bill Belichick from the reports. He got tired of Bill Belichick and his old-fashioned ways, and they had to part ways because it just became stale at the end. And then is he taking his job does he have an ulterior motive? And we kind of touched on that before. Is he taking his job just to prove a point, or is he taking his job to just make a point to the NFL that I can still do it and that I'm the best to ever do it? Because if he's doing it for that reason, well, I think we'll see the best Bill Belichick and the best North Carolina Tar Heels that we've ever seen. So if that's his true motive, then look out. And I was thinking about, who will he add to his staff? Because we know that Lawrence Taylor is one of the best defensive players of all time, considered the best defensive player of all time in the NFL by most people. Will he add him to the staff as he was University of North Carolina alumni? Will he add Julius Peppers? Will he add former pieces from his coaching days in the NFL? Well, you know that he's already added Michael Lombardi, who was on his staff in New England, I believe. So he's already starting to put pieces together, but you know he's going to come in and change his whole staff. Will he add his sons? I think they're coaching in the NFL now still, but will he get them on his staff to coach the defense and other places and special teams and things like that? So we'll keep an eye on that in the next couple of months. I'm pretty sure they'll make announcements towards that. Then next, will he receive, and this is probably the biggest question I had, will he receive the prime time treatment? Now, when I say prime time treatment, I mean Coach Deion Sanders in Carolina for the Carolina Buffaloes. Will he receive that kind of TV time? Will he receive that same kind of scrutiny? Now, it's a two-way street. Now, if he receives the TV time and doesn't receive the scrutiny, then we probably have another problem. But from all I can see, the last couple of years in New England, he faced a lot of scrutiny. People kept saying Tom Brady was the reason he won these rings. It wasn't Bill. It had nothing to do with him. It had all to do with Tom Brady. So if he goes to North Carolina, wins a championship or make them relevant again, it'll kind of put a couple whispers to those critics of his that he had in the NFL. So, but I think from a TV standpoint, he's going to be box office. So I think they will get a lot more games on TV on ESPN and ABC that they didn't get before. Similar to Carolina similar to Colorado when Deion Sanders committed to Colorado. They got all these TV primetime games. I think North Carolina will receive that same type of treatment. So, and like I said, I think he's still playing with house money. So either way, I think Bill Belichick is a win for him. I think I'm proud of him for making this move. It's a bold move, a move that most people didn't expect him to make. You know, over the last couple of weeks, we began reports that it's in Bill Belichick's court if he want to take the job or not. The job's been offered. And it seemed like he wasn't going to take the job and he was just interviewing just to interview. But when he actually officially was announced and at the press conference with the athletic director with his sleeves cut off, that showed the commitment they had to the team, to Bill Belichick on the team. And it seems like he's taking in those same footsteps because his dad was alumni of University of North Carolina. So, and he was a big component or a huge fan of his dad and what his work, and he got into coaching because of his dad, seemingly. So stay tuned to that story and continue to subscribe and like the content. And until next time, I'll see you next time.